Happy Super Bowl 53 from the Whiskey Porch. I'm Tom Fischer of bourbonblog.com. And to celebrate Super Bowl 53, I have selected the two teams, right? A California product, which is the Henebery. It comes from San Diego, not too far from LA. This is a barrel old-fashioned. So they put it into a barrel, they age it for a few months. They've made an old-fashioned out of their wonderful infused rye. And then I've also, for New England Patriots, selected the Boston Harbor Distillery's Spirit of Boston. It's sort of like a whiskey, except for the fact that, well, it's distilled from beer, and in this case, it's distilled from Samuel Adams beer, and then goes into an American oak barrel. So, two excellent products. Tell us down below who you're rooting for, or even if you're watching this after the Super Bowl, who you hoped win. Or tell us if you're glad your winner won. But for now, we're going to make sure everybody's a winner because I brought out two cigars that I think will match each of these perfectly. So I picked some whiskeys and some spirits that you might not have heard of, partially because, well, let's celebrate craft distilling in these many states where these many amazing sports teams come from. Spirit of Boston. It is a spirit. It's not technically a whiskey because it is spirit distilled from grain and hops. This is actually from Ella Blanc India Pale Lager from Samuel Adams. So this AVO is a celebration of 30 years of AVO. So how do we do this? I'm sure you remember. We take a sip of the spirit, this case, Spirit of Boston, getting some great noses of hops on this. Beautiful, delicate hops. Why are they distilling the hops and then aging this spirit distilled from beer? It's to accentuate the hops. It's to really let them speak in a whole new way. So if you're a beer fan, especially a IPA or an India Pale Lager fan, as it were, this one is really for you. It's a beautiful way to experience beer that you can't get just out of a glass. I mean, beer has a certain complexity, a certain structure to it, has a certain carbonation and mouthfeel that when you put it into a spirit, it's going to really do something different. It's going to be more subtle. It's going to calm it down. It's going to allow the mouthfeel to do something different. With this cigar, this cigar is lighter. It's milder, but yet deeply integrated in flavors like lemon, cedar, beautiful creaminess. I'm already getting creaminess on this, but with the two of these together, that creaminess is elevated. It comes up, it speaks. Almost to the realm, these two together, the combo becomes like a lemon meringue pie. Almost coconut cream pie. Elements of that fluffy meringue coming out of that pie. That's a really good pairing. Okay, so Patriots fans, before the game, after the game, most of you probably watch this after the game because Super Bowl's starting soon. Try this pairing. Second, we're going to head to California for the LA Rams fans, and Henebery has been doing some incredible rise and innovations the last several years. This one is a barrel-aged old-fashioned. It's becoming quite a popular creative trend. I'm not seeing tons of brands doing it, but they're taking a cocktail, they're making a cocktail, and they're putting it into a barrel to age several months, and this is just divine. So, taste of the spirit first. You can actually put this in the rocks. It'll elevate the sweeter flavors, the sugars. So they have house-made bitters, right? They have some other elements they've put into this to actually create, and I'll let you see the bottle there, to actually create this this old-fashioned. And if you get a chance to visit either of these distilleries, I highly recommend you can go to, they can actually make quite a few good cocktails in the Henebery, which is in Vista, California. The spice on that's extremely autumnal. Autumnal almost to the realm of a little Christmassy, with all those spices dancing on your palate. Now, we did the 30-year celebration, the improvisation series for the AVO cigar, which celebrates 30 years of AVO. This is a Rocky Patel cigar, which celebrates a decade of Rocky Patel. That's why this cigar was created. So we have a theme going. 30 years here, 10 years here. And that's not how old the cigars are, that's how old the brands are. Both incredibly smooth. Just a great draw on both of these cigars. I'm going to have a taste of the flavor. So we do get some of those nice cherry pipe tobacco elements that you would get perhaps on a barrel-aged old-fashioned. The spices, nice baking spices over here. Espresso, deep chocolate, dark chocolate. This is just really a match made in heaven. This just the two of these, the way these again are both elevating and coming together, almost like this is a cocktail. You're almost putting some dashes of flavor into a cocktail, though I wouldn't dash my ash into the glass. But in my mouth, it's there, it's nice, it's beautiful. So, who you voting for? Who you rooting for? Today's Super Bowl 53. Well, here's a new way to vote. Here's a new way to get behind the teams, and a new way to think about the next time there's a game. Find spirits from those states, from those regions, and put them head to head. The other thing to think about is we do a lot of whiskey tastings, of course, with our whiskey tasting series, and always feel free to contact us if you're hosting a whiskey tasting. We'd love to come host one for you with cigars, with just whiskeys, with a blend. But the thing to think about at home when you're hosting a tasting is how can you make it creative, right? We taste whiskeys next to each other, but how often do we do 2 or 3 cigars back to back, side by side? With whiskeys, we know it helps us understand nuances in whiskeys. So I wish you a splendid Super Bowl 53. Make sure you like this, subscribe, tell your friends about our cigar and whiskey tasting video series. I've received some wonderful comments below. Keep on leaving those. We're having a good time with the conversation and keeping it interactive. Cheers.